Syndra into Azir. Okay, so we're bottom lane. We're pushing one last wave for level 11 at 15 minutes. Seems like we have an individual lead. We're looking for a potential flank TP. Wonder what the options are going to be. TP flank on Fiora. I think this is really. I guess I think teleporting bot isn't good. Let's go for the TP flank on Fiora.
Oh,
York is almost there.
Oh, okay. All right.
We have mid prio. Yeah, because our Ashe just pushed. Yeah. Okay. So we can watch the ending. While this ending is happening, Mark, do you want to explain why you didn't think it was going to be TP flank?
Well, I guess I wasn't paying attention to whether York was committed to making this play happen on top side, and I figured the safer choice was just to go walk mid. But I think the other thing I didn't take into account that Leona was also positioned to flank on top side because they had prio from Ashe and Leona pushing in, so you have that opportunity to make a 3-man collapse.
All right, let's do one more before draft starts.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, draft's already started?
Oh!
I'm sorry, MOBA Trainer. Look, MOBA Trainer, for everybody at home,
MOBA Trainer.
If you enjoyed that, you can subscribe for an extra 20% off and unlimited puzzles using our code LPL20. Proceeds go to benefit both MOBA Trainer developers as well as the LPL unofficial broadcast. Start leveling up your gameplay today. We are in pick. Whoa! Why are we this far to draft? Oh no!
My goodness.
Okay,
well,
we've got Tangyuan. We've got Tangyuan on the Annie, which definitely helped Milkyway get carried last year on FPX. Xiaoxu has picked up the Yorick, and we're getting that Nefiri Rise combo that I talked about from game number 1.
Oh man, damn. Milky Way catching a stray like that already, that's foul. But you know what? I think this is our first Annie of the split, if not the season. Oh, I'm gonna have to go through gol.gg.
Knight just played it like the other day. He played it up against. Yeah.
I'm a fraud. It's okay. All right. Well, Annie's second game of the split potentially, and the rest of this composition from the side of LGD. Taking into account that RNG is going to have the split push win condition thanks to Xiaoxu on the Yorick. We've seen it at least pull out a couple dubs so far in the LPL second split so far. One of them was credit to JDG's top laner, Ala, who JDG were just able to play a really fantastic map control game and just being able to constantly pressure their opponents. Whereas, don't remember the other win. I think it was a recent one, actually. I want to say, I'll come back to it.
Yeah,
anyway.
I was going to say, I think when we look at these kind of compositions, LGD going for a little bit of a lower range team. What I'm going to be kind of really excited to watch is this Renata coming in from YCX. When you look at what RNG have, they're a team that is very similarly lower range, but I think Misfortune and Annie kind of cover some of the bounds there. And for what RNG have, they're going to be going for an all-in strategy. Try to find individual members, use this Nautilus and Lee Sin to pick out individuals, and then have your Annie follow in over top. So LGD, can they make this draft work, and can they bring a 2-0 to bump them up in the standings and bring them to first in Group Nirvana?
I mean, RNG are really all-inning on giving Milky Way not only a lot of easy crowd control setup, both through mid and through bot lane, but also just trying to give him the keys to the kingdom with a confidence pick like the Lee Sin. Something that we just don't really see that often from junglers these days, since there's a lot more champions that are being prioritized, and even when we get further and further into the Fearless draft, still Lee Sin doesn't pop up as often. Get a chance to look at the keystones here. Doesn't really look like anything pops out as the usual, unless the first strike from Annie is not typical for Annie, but then again, we've only had one game, and I don't remember what Knight took on Annie.
He also took Electrocute. So he took Electrocute, and then still ended up going the Roa build, which meh. All right. Well, we've got both junglers heading towards the bottom sides of their map, which does make sense, especially, or they're going actually flipped. I don't know why I thought Lee Sin was on top side. I think I just saw the red icon that is the ward on the blue buff and figured it was Lee Sin. But gonna be interesting when you're talking about playing the Yorick versus Jax.
Yeah. I'm curious to see actually how much split pushing Xiaoxu is going to be able to do effectively this game. Because if Sasa is able to answer him on the jacks, then you kind of neutralize that win condition. And it's not like Sasa needs to join these fights for LGD to guarantee wins if the 4v4 is still nice for them. There's an early full clear from the side of Milky Way. We have seen a couple of our Lee Sin encounters where they go for something similar like this. Full clear on red side, try to look for something cheesy. Didn't look like the conditions were necessarily set for JiaQi and Niket to set up something on the Shaoye. Meanwhile, mid lane Niao does something similar. Goes for a full clear on red side, looks for mid lane, but not the right conditions to look for a play. And he's actually going to discover that no cams from the blue side have been taken by Milky Way. Meanwhile, flash from Niket right onto Shaoye. The ignite popping, JiaQi flashing forward, and that's first blood for RNG.
This is the tough part of that matchup when you play into Misfortune. Good for the lane. We're going to see Nio now just sitting there. He's going to use the invulnerability, try to get some invades down. Ended up stealing the blue buff of Milky Way. This is why this popular combo of Rise and the Nefaria has started to come out, giving the point-and-click stun in the mid lane or the root from the Rune Prison. Makes it very easy for Neferi to actually play the game and go on in. So we're already getting a lane swap here from our bottom lane. They try to find the all-in, don't work out there. And a lot of summoners burnt between Shaoye and YCX.
Now, if you are an AD carry here, Alk, and you're in the Kalista matchup versus the Misfortune matchup, and you lose the first kill of the laning phase, are you pressing the panic button? Are you immediately calling for your jungler or saying FF at 15, or are you chilling?
Well, because it's usually us playing, I'm usually saying FF because my jungler hasn't come down bot lane at 3 minutes. But
okay,
in this game, there's still a lot to be able to play for here. I think with the fact that you have this Renata and Kalista, you're just going to be naturally powerful. We'd have to take a replay as to what exactly happened in that 2v2 because I think there was some things that we were looking at in mid lane that stopped us from seeing the full context. And as you can see, they were there first to the top side. Niket is here, but there's a flank from Milky Way.
Oh no, the Sonic Wave lands super easily onto YCX since the prior all-in on the bot lane had expended both of the flashes from Shaoye and YCX. So RNG able to create the volatility by JiaQi and Niket's doing, and now Milky Way gets to reap the rewards.
I think they just weren't expecting him to be there because they were like, okay, well, we just stole his blue buff. He should be on the bottom side of the map. So Milky Way actually trading some of his camps to make sure that he can apply pressure onto this game. Niall has taken in, his Krugs in the meantime. And YCX is going to just walk in. Oh, how does that land? He doesn't have vision. They don't know the pink ward is there. So, all right. Still small victories here for RNG. They're trying to get short-term gold for long-term game just to make sure that their bottom lane is set up for success.
Can't land every Q. It happens, Milky Way. RNG, though, still 2 kills up on the board. A solid 1,000 gold advantage thanks to their overall efforts. Not necessarily any damning individual leads racked up by the members here on RNG versus LGD. We're still 30 seconds away from the first grubs spawning. And right now, Nio getting a chance to be the first one in the river here alongside his bot lane, and the collapse from XQW at least gives them the surprise attack angle against RNG.
It's very important here that RNG are going to prioritize getting level 6. Oh, we're making this play on Niket, but he's just out of there. And that's a flash from XQW. Okay, they gave over position. LGD can now fight for mid lane wave. They'll be able to collapse. Tangyuan, during this time, hit level 6, and that was the thing that I was looking for. So now RNG just gets say, hey, we're going to be able to play for grubs, and you can't contest. That was a huge investment from LGD.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Alec. I was left speechless, and not in the good way. I was very underwhelmed, just thinking, okay, cool, you want to look for a Realm Warp collapse into a flash play by the Rise, but Niket can just buffer any CC with the Q. And so maybe that wasn't the target that LG were trying to go for. They wanted to look for JiaQi instead. It's just, I don't know whether it was an execution error or just, unfortunate target selection from the side of LGD. But yeah, big investment there. And they lose the first 3 grubs because they kind of lost their surprise window with that too.
Yeah. So as we go back to lanes, XQW does have to get hovered by his jungle and support because he doesn't have flash. They just saw Nautilus up here. There could be a potential dive coming in with Milky Way, but you're very happy if you are LGD, and specifically if you're Nio. You did just lose that fight, but you've now are pretty close to hitting level 6 on this Nefiri. You have a lot of skirmishing prowess coming on through, and you're going to be looking at these bottom lane. You know, we're talking about looking to use the Kalista and Renata. Jax is starting to pick up a little bit more farm here. The only issue that you're kind of worrying about now is Misfortune is pretty strong at this point, and her ability to clear the mid lane wave is a lot stronger than her opponents.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a dragon to play for both of these teams here. RNG still benefiting off of the decent-sized gold lead now. XQW has been able to pick up a little bit more farm for himself on some of these side lanes, now facing Tangyuan in the bottom side of the map. Nio currently lurking in the shadows, shifting his way towards the river. And I'm a liar. It was not XQW already on the bottom side of the map. It was Sasa. Both of them were blue in the profile picture in the map.
Nice.
Dyslexic moment from me. Meanwhile, Milky Way trying to flash forwards to see if he could land the... Does he even have Dragon's Rage? No. Huh?
Okay. All right. Fair play. There you go. I mean, teleported in. He just gets to walk back out. He's half HP, which doesn't feel particularly good, but if they try to redive this, you have to be worried about how fast they're able to get this done. There's no flash here from XQW. Oh,
okay, good
it's
size
fine.
by
It's fine.
XQW, but it's fine. Niket at least is able to tank up the turret shots for Milky Way to land the rest of his damage. Nio wants to see if he can at least get some punish back. There's no Tibbers. There's no flash from Milky Way. Goes for the first easy target, and Niket gets the reset off the Hound's pursuit. Won't necessarily go for a redive, but the pressure should give them control over the first dragon.
Those are two flashes, two very important ones. Milky Way no longer having his, and now Tangyuan using it to get out of the knockup, as well as grabbing the objective. I think LGD can be quite happy with this, and RNG over-indexing on that dive, gets a little bit of gold for Milky Way. We'll see if he's able to carry this as the Lee Sin. This game gets infinitely harder for Lee Sin as more items start to be picked up, and mostly your value is going to be coming from his E. That Tempest plus Cripple is going to add so much value versus a Renata and this Nefiri. But aside from that, there are just so many dogs from Nefiri that also block Lee Sin Q. So Milky Way is going to have to be very creative on this Lee Sin if he wants to have additional value and not necessarily fall off a cliff as we go further.
Yeah, I will say that I appreciate he is being super proactive because I think it's the correct decision to make, especially since you're playing against Nefiri, who's going to scale super hard with every single item spike, whereas in the Lee Sin side of the deal, I mean, you spike decently, but nowhere near as threatening, right, as the Nefiri, who gets just to increase the potential of just one-shotting or completely zoning out a carry. It's much easier to execute on the side of Nefiri, whereas Lee Sin, you have to, like, do miracles and more just to achieve what Nefiri can do with the press of one button.
All right, let me take a look at this game now. It's a minor lead going over to RNG, and with 3 grubs in their mind, when see it off the cards for them to try to go for the second set of grubs. There's no dragon to trade for the time being because this first one got taken so late. So pretty easy steal for them. And at the very least, Mark, if they actually just want mid priority, and that's the biggest thing, you can just bullet time this entire mid wave, and suddenly it is difficult for LGD to actually answer back. Maybe they're waiting for the side of LGD though. If they can kind of squeeze this timer on Xiaoye's ultimate, that Fate's Call does open up a lot of plays. Tangyuan is in Fog of War though, so they always have to be worried about where Annie is.
Yeah, just hovering the left side while Milky Way burns out at least the first grub here. Oh, the dredge line connected right on top of Shaoye, and the bullet time is ripping through his health bar. Milky Way tries to close the distance with a ward hop into the resonating strike. Just not enough damage to finish off the Kalista here. The bailout was also there just in case he needed that extra bit of protection there. But LGD still not able to force their way back into the river. And given the credit to RNG, they're going to secure 6 grubs for themselves unless Nio is actually... I think he made his way into the pit. Didn't get a chance to steal one away.
6 grubs for the team with Yorick. This is one of the first times they've actually been able to see this. Usually Yorick teams are not able to play for the grubs because Yorick is just a historically very weak champion in team fights, especially very early on. But getting 6 grubs is a huge boon for this team. We need to see how much Xiaoxu can actually get done on the side lane, as he is going to be able to, I mean, he should be able to delete turrets now with a Trinity Force on top of that. If he has Demolish Rune, it only gets much worse. And LGD are floundering so far mechanically in a lot of these fights. Those were 3 summoner spells burned from Shaoye, plus YCX's heal.
And LGD definitely a lot more, or not a lot more, but a lot less impressive compared to the game 1 so far. It seems like after the Sivir game we got, I was ready for Shaoye to just run it back on whatever AD carry he got. But the way that JiaQi and Niket were able to create that volatility in the bot lane, get the early shutdown kill, and then afterwards it seems like LGD are not operating on the same level of confidence that we saw in their first roundabout against each other.
And we're also seeing that with the addition of having mid priority, how easy it is for the junglers to live, right? Just
True.
milkyway this time around, he gets to walk in, he utilizes the fact that JiaQi and Niket have first move. They can always enter into this topside jungle, so it's a free red buff going over for RNG at the expense of Nayo. And maybe they try to find this pick onto Renata. The wireframe shows her, she just gets caught out. YCX is dead.
Yeah, even if she tried to flash away, there's no escaping the mobility that milkyway has in his pocket on the Lee Sin when they've already closed the distance like that. RNG might have a chance to get some turret plate damage down onto the mid lane since JiaQi's pushing in a huge wave. And the rest of RNG's squad now roaming over to the top side where Tangyuan pushing in this wave. XQW in a world of trouble, just going to throw out the Realm Orb so that he can escape.
There you go. How much more can they get from this 6 grubs? That's 1 plate. Second one coming on through. And that's going to be a lot of gold here for RNG. If they get this full turret, it's even more. And that'll be focused really onto Tangyuan and Milky Way.
Oh, they all in right on top of XQW, but the hostile takeover is here to turn the tides of the fight. Milky Way dropping
No
super
way.
low. Nayo gets the first reset on the Hound's pursuit and is ready to bog down on Tangyuan's face. Next up could be Niket looking for the Darkened Dagger, finds the second cast. It's a triple for Nayo. This jungler has come in and not missed 1 beat in revitalizing the LGD roster. JiaQi tries to save the day. The bullet time will scatter most and finds 2 back, but still a massive win for LGD.
And that's an unverified quadra kill now here for Nayo, getting 4 kills in that fight spread across the entire thing. This Nefiri is turbocharged, and that single mistake from RNG might have cost them the game. It was a turret, yes, but how much gold was lost here, and even the summoner spells. XQW is incredibly tanky thanks to having this catalyst of Aeons. YCX with the hostile takeover plus the bailout just provides so much utility. And it is just the rundown here from Nayo as he gets all of these kills. It goes from bad to worse here as they lose a lot of their summoner spells, but at the very least, JiaQi was able to grab 2 kills in the end.
Get the picture-in-picture, at least for RNG's sake, we're able to, off of the redeploy on the map, secure the second dragon of the game. Taking one last look. The bullet time is the saving grace for RNG of what was a disaster on the top side.
Yeah. Getting an invade here from LGD. They want to try to at least get back some of their camps here, as Nayo, he got to finish an entire Spear of Shojin from that.
Oh,
all right.
Baby.
Nice. Cool. And like you were saying, the dragon does go over. The Rift Herald is spawning, and for right now, it's going to continue to go the way that we've seen for this entire game, which is that JiaQi and Niket get first move, first say out of mid lane, and they can move into this side of the jungle, which has been so important for both of these teams in this series, just being able to get vision down and, you know, really supplant yourself in an area and kind of defend your territory.
Meanwhile, XQW getting run down since he doesn't have flash.
Yeah.
Wow, that was just a straight up solo queue. Xiaoxu just knew that without flash, there's no chance for this Rise to escape.
And he has Demolish. That was a question that we had for earlier. So 6 grubs, Demolish, that turret's going to go down. Maybe even gets more, but he doesn't have Teleport. Yeah, so he should just be looking for this full thing.
A really good dredge line there. Gets away from the handshake. Tangyuan now joins the fight. Throws down the tippers, but still gets dogged down by Nayo. Good bullet time from JiaQi. Splits up the members of LGD in that choke point. Nayo now forced to run away, but still is going to survive. And RNG just now finding it even more difficult to navigate these fights when this dog is this fed.
Who cares about that though? Xiaoxu in the bottom lane now.
True.
Just gets to continue to hit this turret. No one else is moving for him. I feel like this is pretty premature. He doesn't want to get anybody to really teleport on him. And this entire time, Nayo gets to start up the Herald. He's been taking this entire time. He's full health again. All right, cool, I guess. That's just an objective taken for them. And there's no dragon. There's really nothing else to play for at least 2.5 minutes. It's probably be the turret here as JiaQi gets collapsed upon.
He has cleanse, but can he get away? Does he have the protection necessary from the rest of the team? LGD all in and didn't take into account where the rest of the RNG squad members were. That's a big shutdown to forfeit that easily.
300 plus gold coming in from that. So Nayo gonna have to go back to the base with that one. Really unfortunate stuff. This game is slowing down, and that favors RNG. Just because of the fact that they have this 6 grubs, and how much more can Xiaoxu get on the side lane? If RNG can hold their opponents, maybe even start to eke out small wins like that, I mean, this mid turret is about to fall as well. There's going to be a lot of gold that RNG is going to be able to play with, and I think this is most exacerbated by the fact you look in mid lane. Tangyuan is already 5 minutes ahead of this Rod of Ages. Tangyuan's going to be able to finish his second item in time, probably around the 21-minute mark, and then pick of the litter when it comes to objectives and fights across the map here.
LGD trying to bully the rest of RNG out of their own jungle and secure these camps back for themselves. I want to go back to this Yorick because it is the one thing that outside of the overextension from Nayo, giving over a free kill and a free shutdown over to RNG, had kind of going for this squad because, like you called out, 6 grubs for a Yorick. I don't think this is even, despite all the Yorick games we've seen, I don't know if we've ever gotten a Yorick composition with 6 grubs on their side as well. So this means that even though LGD have a super accelerated jungle Nefiri, if your fights are not finished out fast enough and Sasa is not able to hold the Yorick on the side lane, or if it's XQW's job to hold him on the side lane and that doesn't work either.
It should not be, please.
Yeah.
Do not put Rise. This used to be the old school Rise counter. They get the... Okay. They trade Flash from XQW for the cleanse of JiaQi. I don't think that's worth, but they are sitting up on this bottom side, and if RNG walk into them, YCX needs to make the Hail Mary hostile takeover. Otherwise, I think LGD have over-prioritized this bottom lane wave. They might lose 2 turrets for this between mid and top lane.
Yeah, Xiaoxu is just steamrolling through the minion wave on the top side, and RNG have already set up shop to cut off any rotations back from bot to mid lane by LGD. So they're forced to take the safe option of going through all the way of bot lane or recalling and walking back mid. Thankfully for the side of LGD, neither of the 2 turrets are susceptible enough to RNG felling them in one fell swoop or rotation. It's just back to standard. And we're at 20 minutes into the game. Otacon has spawned on the bottom side of the map. The 3rd dragon is available, and RNG are blitzing it down.
So much vision here for RNG, for LGD to have to walk through. Dragon is gonna be reset here. Xiaoxu does have teleport. You can see the pings. They want to see if he can push his wave a little bit further. Milkyway should just give this up. This is fake. Yeah. I think we're just giving this up. They're just trying to buy time here for Yorick. Honestly, if that was really the case and they all kind of wanted to play on a unified front, they would actually kind of walk together as 5. But LGD instead are going to summon the Rift Herald here to try to punish them. They should just try to get this to crash, guys. Oh, no. Okay, well, I think it lives. Okay, it gets 1.
Yeah. It gets 1.
Okay, not bad. So, for the time being, though, still got to feel that this game should be RNG favored. This game going late might get a little hectic as Rise will have all of his items completed. And so before the Rod of Ages and the Seraphs are done, that's going to be where I'm looking for RNG to really kind of utilize the fact that you have a Lee Sin and an Annie that are ahead. Same thing with this Misfortune. Already 2 items here. Bloodthirster and Infinity Edge. So JiaQi hits like a truck.
Yeah, this Misfortune is going to be ripping through LGD squishies like I can't even think of a comparison. Yeah, you know what? Something like a hot knife through butter or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That works. We're gonna call it a day. LGD still trying to find their composure on this map since they have to always send someone to attend to the split pushing shenanigans of Xiaoxu on this York, constantly creating map pressure. The power of 6 scrubs is going to do a number as soon as he gets his chance to walk up and start smacking a turret with the shovel. And LGD, if they're not able to get these sideways pushed out in preparation before an objective, then they're going to have to make, you know, tough decisions here. You know, give over the objective, send full 5 members in order to contest for it, and then risk giving up 1, 2, how many turrets that Xiaoxu will get in that in exchange? That's going to be a question we'll see answered as the game continues further and further.
Okay. Starting up, we're on the bottom side of the map, mostly just because Otacon is here. You see that LGD are struggling with RNG's wave clear, especially when we talk about this Misfortune. Shaoye is just never able to step up. This bullet time, plus the make it rain, is very difficult. YCX has to be careful. He's able to get out in time. Lee Sin and them do not decide to pressure, but it makes it almost impossible for LGD to get those long lanes that we were kind of setting up with the Rise and the Jax, just because of the fact that they can rotate so quickly between mid and bottom lane here, even top lane. So seeing them try to start this up, this is going to be a bait. They want people to walk into an Annie and a Nautilus. Xiaoxu has not committed the teleport quite yet.
Engage there, Realm Warp. Maybe for Sasi to look for a flank angle, finds his way right on top of Milky Way's head. It's the kick that sends him out. Flash hostile takeover will only snag Tangyuan, but that could be the target. That's all that's needed. But they have to make a decision quick, because look in the top lane. Xiaoxu is working on the second tier turret and could easily make his way to the inhibitor tower next. And the fact that RNG are able to trade out 1 is still working in their favor.
Can
the
he steal it, though?
getting burned out, but Xiaoxu is actually teleporting to the fight. Nayo secures the Otacon, but the rest of LGD, they got revives. They can take this fight. They can trade kills. But Nayo is still forced to run. YCX now could be the next target. Milky Way is going to find his way into the backline and take out the dog once again. And somehow RNG able to win the fight.
I don't think that was worth it at all for LGD. Yes, you got the Otacons, but RNG were able to get a little bit of gold. They even got some summoner spells out of XQW. LGD just saying, look, we may have died there, but Misfortune doesn't have flash, Tangyuan doesn't have flash, and now Xiaoxu doesn't have TP, so he is stuck in whichever lane he commits to. As we take a look at this replay, there's some creativity here from LGD by sending in the Jackson to the backline. Xiaoye's ultimate doesn't really land, but it's all down to YCX being able to tag Tangyuan here. If they don't grab this, then I think this fight is a real drainer when it comes to their resources. But this fight is split now. Look at where Shaoye is. Nayo is just now wrapping back over the Dragon Wall, and they're lucky that this steal doesn't come through from Milky Way, because that would have been the ultimate backbreaker.
Yeah, it is pretty clutch that they get the revives and not actual deaths coming in for RNG, but they're still getting a decent amount of gold off of the fight being victorious for them. Meanwhile, Nayo looking for the first target onto Niket. The Hound's Pursuit already casted, but needs to get another target before he can cast it once again. They turn on to Xiaoxu, coming in from the left flank.
Tangyuan
making his way to the right side. He's immediately threatening Shaoye to force the flash away, but XQW's in the middle of all of them. Is he tanky enough on the rise? Nayo finds the first reset on the JiaQi, and he can cast it again. Realm Warp is going to bring them even closer under the tier 1 turret, but Milky Way tries to keep his distance, forces them to back off, looks for the Sonic Strike, not gonna land. Sonic Wave is gonna go to the wayside. Milky Way at least stays alive. A Baron buff is available for the taking, and as long as RNG can look for a steal, it can still be playable.
This is super close. They're gonna turn right onto Milky Way. Say goodbye.
They had vision, and they knew that Milky Way was gonna fish for the steal, and RNG all walk in one by one. Thankfully for them, they trade Shaoye, but I think LGD will still have enough damage to burn this one down.
Sasi even still has the Otacon revive, so he'll take part in that, and LGD get creative with their finds. They get a good pick away from him, and I loved how they turned immediately. They had to explain Xiaoye's flash, but it'll grab themselves the Baron, and now keep them in this game. Remember, still 6 grubs here for RNG, but those 2 dragons that LGD were able to get, so important. And you can see Tangyuan trying to stay in vision. As soon as he shows here, everybody from LGD, they just immediately try to pincer, and the amount of time that XQW is able to spend or try to expend from RNG is important. He is so tanky, like you had noted, having the Rod of Ages, the Seraph Shield as well. It makes it basically fruitless for RNG and Tangyuan and Milky Way to ever find a pick onto him.
And then just the patience to wait for RNG or Milky Way to come back in. Oh, they spotted him on the control ward that was walking on over. Milky Way had just... He was more concerned about trying to fish for a steal than the potential for LGD to jump back over the wall. Now we're back to live. Third dragon was sniped away by LGD. They have 3 dragons to the name right now. RNG were trying to fish to see if there was a fight that they could take in the aftermath of the objective. The gold lead has evened up here. We have to remind everyone that LGD or RNG still has the 6 grubs on their side. They still have this York split push win condition. But the past 2 fights, RNG have forced Xiaoxu to come into the fight and join up for a 5v5. And I can't help but wonder if these are the correct calls that RNG are making with their Yorick.
And the items are only going to get worse, right? Like, for LGD, they are becoming much tankier. Sauce is actually going for Azonias. You already see that Nayo basically has 3,000 HP on this Nefiri with the Chempunk Chainsword already done. We're making a play in mid?
XQW forced to pop the Zonias, yeah, but now he's back out of the Golden State. Flash forward from Tangyuan looking for the Tethers, but it is the Realm Warp! XQW was not caught up in the CC train, and he's able to escort the rest of his team out alive.
Such a creative play. The Realm Warp finally being used to get members out of dodge. We haven't talked about it much, but Nayo being 10-1 on this Nefiri. YCX, that was some miscoordination from the bottom lane of LGD. Flash from YCX, the ultimate from Fate's Call. Does give over mid priority, but what I was noting with the items is just how tanky LGD are. I think we're getting another fight here. I think this is fake. Guys, we have Baron for 30 seconds. We got to use this a little bit better.
Looks like they were trying to at least find a quick pick with the collapse from Sauce's teleport, but not able to find anybody in range. RNG, for the most part, going to take some recalls here and get a chance to redeploy, spend some any gold that they might have accumulated in the last time that we saw them on the Rift here. The gold lead's still relatively even, just a difference of hundreds here for the side of LGD. Getting ready for the next dragon spawning in 3 minutes here, Alk. It is Ocean Soul on the line for LGD.
Nayo's pretty close to level 16. He's about 60% of the way. Maybe he'll try to, steal some of his own jungle camps away from his laners. Hey, I can take this right buff, right? Like, it's global now. We're past 20 minutes. Shaoye is recalling. I wonder what item he's going to be completing. Should have already been done with the Terminus, so he's like on 3.5 items. This is the worst time for this banner to come up, in my opinion. I wanted to see what they were getting. Yeah, okay, so he has 3 items now. Pretty big break point. I mean, he's on parity with his opponent. Yes, it's crit itemization, but just having the Terminus plus the Rage Blade makes Kalista that much harder to take down. And the biggest breakpoints I'm going to be looking for in this next fight is level 16s for some of these members, Tangyuan and Nayo in particular.
Tensions at an all-time high as mid lane prio is the name of the game for RNG, securing it for themselves and constantly keeping LGD push back here. We haven't seen Xiaoxu gotten a chance to push up and threaten an inhibitor tower quite yet. There was that opportunity during the Otacon fight, but didn't get a chance to see it really accelerated, as now RNG, still the next objective, the focus, the play is 1 minute and 30 seconds away from spawning in that Ocean Dragon. RNG once again get the mid prio, a Realm Warp, trying to cut them off. Milky Way is completely isolated, but a quick snag right on top of Shaoye. Really great coordination from RNG to find the AD carry of LGD completely alone, and now LGD are left floundering.
They just completely split up. Shaoye and YCX could not get into the Realm Warp in time. That was also the flash here from XQW. I was going to talk about before this play, for LGD, a strength from them, because they lost some of their outer turrets a lot quicker, it is very difficult for RNG to get set up in long lanes when there is a Ryze who can teleport on you, when there's a Jax that can come in from behind. So RNG have been overgrouping on mid, giving up a little bit of CS specifically in Tangyuan so that other members can get fed and kind of turbocharge this York and this Misfortune. But right there we saw LGD get a little too cheeky with it and spread the fight too thin. So now they lose access over this dragon. They will not be able to fight for Soul, at least not on even footing. And it'll be important now for RNG. Where do you place your vision, and what space are you able to occupy and take control of with this Annie and this Nautilus?
Yeah, because they definitely lost the opportunity to have that control once Shaoye went down, because now this bottom side quadrant jungle belongs to RNG. They have vision lines pushed up into that blue buff circle there in the pit. It's getting equalized out with the double control wards from LGD. We'll get a chance to see everything now with the blue scryers. The dragon has been started up here. The rest of RNG all circled up on this banana brush, waiting for someone from LGD to step up. Flash available from Tangyuan for a stun setup here. JiaQi, bullet time coming up. The realm warp from...
No one's there.
It's a bait.
Can they finish the
him
dragon,
away.
though?
Dredge line goes wide, 4,000 HP. Milkyway goes in, but gets caught up by the hostile takeover. The Ocean Soul is secured by Nio, and now he finds the first reset on the Milky Way. Looking for JiaQi next. The flash forward into the Hound's pursuit. Good night, JiaQi. Oh, goes the dogs, and Nio is going to sink their fangs into the rest of RNG's back. The rest of LGD can do away with the remaining stragglers of RNG, and this looks like it's a series swept.
Wow, I mean, we talked about what Nio has been able to do for this team coming in. When they had Climber, unfortunately, LGD were 5-13 in game store. With Nio, after taking this win up against RNG, is now going to move up to 6-1 after his performance. And now with an Ocean Drake, the LGD are going to end 3-0 here.
Cementing their place at the top of the standings in Group Nirvana, one step closer to guaranteeing a continuation of their season into Split 3. LGD swept the series.
Just an incredible performance. Even that early game looked a little questionable, but he is completely leading these guys. Like, it feels good. This team looks completely different. I think that their mid games have gotten a lot stronger. Nio has been very focused on being able to generate his own leads and be very creative with his pathing. So I think we could start to be excited again for LGD after getting burned during Split 1.
LGD enjoyers rejoice. This team is now pretty damn secure in continuing their season to the third split of the year. It would have to take some like crazy shenanigans from the rest of the teams and the rest of the standings for LGD to still be eliminated from the entire year and not get a chance to play continuing into the summer at this point. Because with 3-0 on the line and only 2 more series left to play, odds are in their favor, baby.
Like, the hardest one after this for LGD is going to be the fact that they do play up against EDG next, who is the other first place team, or previously after today was going to be the first place team. So that'll be a battle for first here in Group Nirvana, and that is going to, I think, kind of clinch who is going to playoffs. I mean, you start off there, you beat if either of those teams win, they're going 4-0 or 4-0, so that could be a pretty big win for them. I'm looking at and then afterwards, LGD have to go against Ultra Prime, so LGD very realistically could end top 2 in the group, and that'll mean that they could battle for their chance to be in Split 2 playoffs.
I'm going to wake up Cubby. I'm going to tell him that he can be excited about LGD again. I don't care if that guy is sleeping. I'm going to DM him right now.
Let him know. Let him know. Tell all your friends at home, LGD will continue on in Group Nirvana, at least in 3-0, and got to kind of look at it for their opponents here now. RNG, Roll Never Give Up. Now 0-2. They still have some pretty tough matchups. They're going against potentially a revitalized LNG. Then they've got OMG, who, that right there, I think for RNG in particular, that Ultra Prime series is going to haunt them, because that is another team that is potentially fighting them for third, fourth, or, potentially getting out of this group right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had, you know, LNG as one of the teams that was most in danger of being eliminated this season, and the fact that RNG dropped their series against them, ooh,
It's tough.
nah, that is super tough. And for or if they were to drop the series against LNG, then it would be tough. Now there's some teams like EDG that RNG would still have to play against that are seemingly in this state is also going to be very difficult to overcome. I know that other teams are off the backs of, you know, series losses are making panic swaps with their rosters. I mean, LNG has now swapped to their third jungler so far. I'm curious if RNG are going to pull an emergency panic button of their own and try and call up one of the members from their LDEL squad and say, this guy's not performing for us right now. We need you to step in, you know, or if they're going to trust in this current roster to carry it forward and, at least for their sake, win 3 more series.
It's going to be tough. I think any kind of swaps potentially jeopardizes the team a little bit more. You know, at least with LNG, the team is already kind of used to having a new jungler in every week. So, you know, they're used to their
it works in their case, right?
Yeah, it works in their case because they've been doing it. But I feel like we even saw it in OMG's case, right? Like they swapped in Charlotte over Linfeng and they got completely obliterated. So I'm kind of looking at this as a pretty tough start here. And I mean, organizationally, I think that would be one of the biggest indictments going from maybe it's them returning to their roots. Because Starhorn Royal Club, they got relegated from the LPL, and then RNG rose from the Flames after being able to promote. They saved their slot, but it might be another relegation. We might have to see them lose their spot for the rest of Split number 2 and Split 3 the rest of the year.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe RNG look at this series as the one that really puts things into gear for them and gets a majority of the members that need to step it up to finally lock in and save their season from ending prematurely. But when we look at, you know, the damage charts, once again, it feels like JiaQi against the world for this roster. I mean, they even gave him a better setup in the lane. He and Niket were able to find a huge lead against Shaoye, who had a pop-off performance on the Sivir in Game 1, really put this Kalista down in the gutter, and it just did not matter. Because Nefiri, I'm sorry, Lee Sin, better champion right now in the meta game. And it's the ease of execution with what you can do with this Nefiri, way simpler than something like a Lee Sin.
We also just never got like a proper 5-on-5. Like Tangyuan in this game, yet again, invisible, right? Like we did not get like a flash Tibbers onto 3, setting up JiaQi for an ultimate. There is plenty of reasons and spaces that I think that was possible. Him and Niket also just having, like, I think Niket in particular just having a really off series, just off night in general. I don't know what else to say for RNG. This looked very sad, especially for some of the members that were getting some hype behind them after Split 1, even after some of the placements games. And it's back to the drawing board now. You're down 0-2. Again, you have so many matches you can play for. And I kind of want to talk a little bit more about LGD here, Mark. Just the exciting prospects of an org that has given players now, especially XQW, who won LDL in this last year, some other high-end players who were able to win some of the earlier splits in LDL of 2024, just all being able to come together in this roster. Xiaoye getting his second year as a starter here. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff, and there's a lot of promise, and that's why we were so hyped coming in for Split 2.
I mean, it's not only the story of LDL champions coming up from the Tier 2 scene and making their season debut, their Tier 1 debut here in the LPL, but also a redemption story for someone like Nio, who, as we talked about before, he had a rough debut on Rare Atom. Not necessarily the most inspiring performance for a rookie to make in their Tier 1 debut. Obviously, you know, it's a lot to ask on in a landscape of so many powerhouse teams, but still, when we saw that he had subbed in or came in over Climber over for LGD, we weren't sure what to expect. We were like, okay, you know, I'm not sure what you're expecting to get out of, you know, him coming in. And yet, Nio has been the truth, the revelation, the the eye-opening revitalization that LGD have seemingly needed, because the rest of the roster is seeming on the up and up right now. And I hear the MVP graphic. I'm assuming it's going to be Nayo on the Nefiri, but I would love
Give it to me.
to confirm it. Yep.
Yay!
There it is.
Let's go. He's got 4 of them. So he's getting almost all of them in these games, which is really, really good. So, again, excited for him and looking forward to what we get from LGD going forward, as they only have 2 more games before their group Nirvana is over.
That's right. And as we close out this series, and before we go to break, just want to remind everyone at home something very important and something very dear to our hearts, that we're extremely grateful to our Ko-fi and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it actually goes to paying on-air talent and content creators. So subscribe to our Ko-fi, linked in the chat below, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. And if you're questioning what kind of upgrades that we've gotten so far, you see all these fancy graphics. It wasn't this fancy in Split 1, baby. That was all Ko-fi money right here. So thank you. Shout out to all the supporters that we've gotten that has been able to level up our broadcast so far. Again, we're getting ready for our second series of the day between Thunder Talk and WE. We'll see you on the other side of the break.